So remember the two big ideas last week, why we look at love languages, is finding our own love language helps us. There's a part that's, I don't want to say selfish, but important in how we communicate how we feel loved. That's part of our responsibility, is to recognize that, because it's not fair for us to just assume every other person has to decode and figure out how we need to be loved and deal with that. Sometimes it's on us to be able to articulate that or say, what makes us feel loved. And that's how knowing your love language is important. And then the other one is if you're in relationships with any other humans, marriage, long-term relationships, or even friendships, family, recognizing the love languages of others helps us love them in the way they feel loved, which is a super important part of how we live as Christians, because Jesus calls us to love one another, and Jesus models a certain type of love that isn't about us. It's about giving for the sake of those we love, and this is what love languages kind of is about at its heart. It's a real practical idea, but it's about this Christian idea that when we love someone else, it's not about me. It's about them. Okay, how it started. This is how this story began for us. This is just an excuse for me to put up a wedding picture, but this is how our story began. So our journey with love languages isn't just because we read a book somewhere and we got the idea like, oh man, it'd be really good to do a class on love languages, like the book of Job and love languages. That's on my list for the next year for studies. But it came out of living life together. Now, I am a quality time person. I married an acts of service woman, Sarah. And so there were times when we first got married, if you can remember, those of you that are married, if you remember the early days when you're like, this is going to be great. We're never going to have a misunderstanding. We're never going to have an argument. Everything's going to be perfect. All those other couples that fight will never be like that because we love each other. Right? Do you remember those days? They're fantastic days. But then life happens. And you realize you just have different ways of approaching things. And so in our relationship, we would find out, like, Sarah's very much somebody who likes to do things for people she loves. So Sarah would make sure we had all the things we need and the foods we liked and everything like that. Try to take care of every need. And I'm a quality time person, so I'd say, man, why is she so busy? Why can't we just sit down and watch TV for like 2 hours? Because that would be great, right? If you loved me, that would be awesome. And Sarah would be like, why do you want me to sit there? Don't you know how much stuff I'm trying to do for the family, for you, and all that? And so we had to learn how we each loved and how we each expressed our love language. Would you say that's fair? That's fair. And so if you remember, the love languages are words of affirmation, physical affection, gifts, acts of service, and quality time. But here's what I've learned over the years. Each one of these things has a thing that's valued most. Now, all of them are important, right? Everything is important when you're dealing with a relationship, a long-term relationship. Words matter, affection matters, all of them. But there's going to be one thing that carries more weight for a certain love language type. And if we can figure that out, that's going to be really helpful in our relationship, because two things are going to happen. One, if we can concentrate our efforts towards our spouse or partner's love language, it's actually going to help them feel loved and secure in the relationship. The other thing is we're going to be mindful that on the other side of the love language are things that really could trigger our spouse or our partner. Have you ever, I'll just ask the men, because we all have, right? Done something that you're like, that wasn't a big deal. Why are you so upset? Right? Said that to yourself while your spouse got angry, right? There are things that we can do that will at times trigger our spouse or partner because their love language, the way they're wired. And so all of these have a thing that carries weight. So what I want to do tonight is just run through the love languages and talk about what some of those things are. If you are one of these people, if it resonates with you, if you recognize your love language, to think about, what makes you feel loved, and also what are the things that really irritate you to no end. Tell me if I'm completely wrong, if I'm mistaken. I am a quality time person. I feel like I am fairly experienced in speaking that perspective. My wife is an active service person. She would probably tell you that I have zero experience knowing about love languages for that. But those of you that might be words of affirmation or gifts or the other one that I'm missing right now, you would tell me if you resonate with one of these. Physical affection. So how to tell if your spouse or partner is a words of affirmation person. One, if you are married to someone who loves the card more than the gift, that's a good tell, right? Someone who really spends time shopping for cards for people because the words have to be right, that's probably a words of affirmation person. Or if there is someone in your life who gives thank you notes, handwritten, with a heartfelt message inside, probably a words of affirmation person. It's probably a tell. So you can know. There are people, in the parish that I know I get the sweetest cards from, and I know they are words of affirmation people, and I appreciate it so much because of where it comes from. For words of affirmation people, just the thought that you would send an encouraging word, if you're married and I love you, thinking of you, you've got this. People that love to hear little messages throughout the day, and generally words of affirmation people are good listeners, and they love to talk through things in life, maybe more so than the other numbers or the other love languages. They like to talk through what's going on in life, maybe a little bit more than others. They want to hear your feedback on situations. If you are a words of affirmation person, does this resonate? Sound okay? If I'm getting something wrong, come find me at dinner and let me know what I've got wrong here. So what you can do if you have someone in your life that's words of affirmation: encourage, affirm, compliment, empathize. Listen to them. Send notes or texts of love and appreciation. It means the world to them. They are the people, they do it for you because it's how they express love. When you do it back, it means the world to them. What you don't do with words of affirmation people is overly criticize. Words are of the highest value. It doesn't mean everything else doesn't matter. It just means words carry more weight. So you might be in a situation where you might have a spouse that maybe is overly sensitive to something you might say. So probably words of affirmation love language, right? Because words matter. So when I first married Sarah, getting to know different families, you marry your spouse, they come from a different type of family. They're not good or not better or worse, just different. And so Sarah's family, I don't think her parents were words of affirmation people. They would fight and yell across the house, and 5 minutes later, everything would be fine, and they'd be sitting at the table eating together like nothing happened. And I would think, it would take me like 3 weeks to recover from what just happened there. And they would just be like, no, there's just Tuesday here. We're fine. It's over. We said what we said, and now we're gonna have a glass of wine and some Cheez-Its, and life's gonna go on. But if you have, is that fair? There you go. Not words of affirmation people. You get it out of your system, you move on. So if you are married to someone that's a words of affirmation person, you really need to think before you speak. I know that's just generally good advice, but it means that it's hard to take back things you say. They will carry it with them for a long time, even if you just say it out of anger and you're like, why did that come out of my mouth? For someone whose words of affirmation, it's going to carry a lot of weight. So that's for words of affirmation. Physical affection. Physical affection, partners, spouses, they just enjoy being near you. Sometimes annoyingly so, right? If you need a little space, but they like being close to you, near you. Holding hands. I always think this is a good tell if you see a couple that is someone is physical affection, that's their love language, they'll hold hands like in Target. Target's not a romantic place, right? Neither is H-E-B, neither is Walmart, Sam's Club. They're not romantic places. But you'll see people that they just hold hands there, right? That contact is important. A hug, right? If you're married to a physical affection person, you can't give like a quick, have a good day, honey, type of like backpack hug. You've got to give a meaningful hug to a physical affection person. They just need the contact. That's how they feel loved. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just important things to know. And so what to do if you're married or if you're with a physical affection person. Non-verbal ways of showing affection. Just saying I love you, right, to a words of affirmation person is going to be really important. To a physical affection person, saying it is going to be less important than necessarily showing it. Holding hands, sitting on the couch together, arm around someone. Just contact. Contact is how they feel loved. Find ways to be close, even in doing mundane tasks. And just a reminder, we're talking about more than just physical intimacy. Physical intimacy is an important part of every relationship in those regards between spouse. So this is a little bit more. This is just kind of in the mundane, the day-to-day, there's contact. The challenges with this are if you become too busy, your schedules get too hectic that you don't have time to be near each other. Again, in this one, affection carries the most weight. So what you don't want to do with this is withhold it, kind of be cold and distant when you're fighting, because it's going to carry more and say more than you think it's saying, right? You just may say, you're so annoying, I don't want to hug you right now, right? But that, again, carries a lot more weight to a physical affection person. It's kind of a rejection. So they're more sensitive to that. We're all sensitive to stuff. It just, based on what our love language is, we can be more sensitive to certain things than others. Physical affection people, if you think I missed something, if I didn't get something right, come find me at dinner. Let me know. I want to know. Okay, gifts. Gifts is a sign of, it's a love language. I'm just going to tell you one easy way to know. If your spouse has a birthday week or a birthday month, you're probably married to a gifts person, right? Acts of service people don't have birthday months. They just don't. Gifts people do because they love to be celebrated. They love to be celebrated because gifts people want to know, it means the world to them that people are thinking of them. So the important thing about gifts, it's not necessarily the gift. It's not the stuff. It's the thoughtfulness. So when somebody has a birthday, they have a birthday month, that means, well, I'm going to go out with my friends this week and my coworkers this week, and then we're going to have a party with the cousins during this time, and then, of course, we're going to have the family party, right? All that is saying is, I'm really enjoying that so many people are thinking of me. It sounds, I don't want it to sound selfish. I'm not meaning it that way, but it's just reveling in feeling loved because so many people are thinking of you, and a birthday is a great time to have people think of you. So gifts people, it's not really about the stuff. It's about the thoughtfulness. It's about thinking about it. So birthday months, I'm going to say 9 out of 10 birthday month people are gifts people. They also give little gifts. If you know people that give souvenirs or give little things throughout the year, they're probably gifts people. Also, they get very sentimental about things they receive. So, somebody that has a story for every knickknack that they have, everything in their house, they have a story. I often wonder if my mother is a gifts person. I would have never said that before, but like she has stuff all through her house, and she's like a museum curator when you walk through. This was the garbage can John made out of egg cartons for his first grade project. I can't get rid of it, This is this. It's everything's there's little gifts all over the house, and every single item in the house has a memory for her attached to it. And gifts people, it's just it's not the object, right? It's the memory, it's the sentiment, it's the thoughtfulness that goes with it. So if you are a gift person, make your spouse partner a priority. Good advice for any marriage. Remember them with small gestures and express gratitude for gifts received. That's an important one too, because when a gift person gives a gift, they're doing it out of love and thoughtfulness for you. That's how they communicate their love and affection. So when they give it and you're just like, oh, why'd you get me this stupid magazine? It feels like a rejection, right? Sensitive to those things. The reason I say I think my mother is a gifts person is because when Sarah and I were first married, she used to drop by our apartment. We had a 1-bedroom apartment in a town, suburb of Buffalo. And she would drop by bringing groceries, but groceries, like these are the right things to have. This is the right type of peanut butter to eat. This is the right type of cleaner to use. And like, nobody really appreciates unsolicited advice, but I think it came from a place of being a gifts person. I think about her house, I think about some of the actions she has. I think it came from a place of being a gifts person. The things you don't do for gifts people, don't forget special occasions. I mean, it's never a good job to forget your anniversary, but if you're married to a gifts person, forget it. And like the thoughtless gifts, there's an episode of The Simpsons where Homer is he forgets Marge's birthday, and so he's on his way home from work trying to get a present. He gets her a bowling ball because he forgot, right? That's not going to go over well with a gifts person. It's probably not going to go over well with anybody, but it's really not going to go over well with a gifts person. Thoughtless gifts are even worse than no gift because a gifts person appreciates being thought of. That's how they feel loved when people think of them. So if you're just kind of giving something thoughtless, that feels like a rejection to the gifts people. So let's go with acts of service. Acts of service people, their love language is doing things for the people they love. Sometimes the little things, and mostly without being asked. Acts of service people will think of ways to do things for people they love without being asked. You all know people in your life that are acts of service people. They are helpers. They are helpers. Think about your helpers. I imagine our kitchen crew today that was helping James and Margot with dinner probably was full of several acts of service people who were trying to help. Okay, so James leading the cooking team is a huge acts of service guy. So this is kind of his love language, showing his love for all of us, with these dinners. That's good to know. And so what you want to do for acts of service people is help without being asked. I think this is a really important thing. Acts of service people, what I've learned, the little bit I've learned in the 20 years we've been married, but also the church is full of acts of service people, right? Acts of service people are the people who get things done in the church. If they do not want to ask you for help, they want you to want to help. They want you to want to do things for them because acts of service people want to do things for you. Right? They think of ways they can help. They don't wait to be asked. And so the way we can show our love for acts of service people is to do things without being asked. Because I'm always like, if you need help, just ask. And it took me about 15 years of marriage to realize, it's probably good if I just do it without being asked. It's good. I mean, I'm capable of learning. I am capable. Also, acts of service people appreciate mundane stuff. Mundane things that you can help with. Right? Take the car to get detailed. An oil change. Right? Things like that. It doesn't always have to be this grand gesture. But these mundane things these little things that you do for people make them feel loved. All right. That's great. All right. Fantastic. I like this session. Here's what you don't do for acts of service people. You don't make other people's needs a priority over your spouse partner. Again, always that's good advice for any marriage. But if you're married to an acts of service person and they feel like you are running all over to help other people and you never help them, rejection. Feels like a rejection. We have known, this is the death of clergy couples that we have known in our life. That the clergy person will kind of be giving to everyone else, so then when they go home, they don't want to give anymore. And if you have an acts of service spouse, forget it. That feels like you choose everyone else over me. Feels like a rejection. Actions carry the most weight. Here's another just good thing to do. This is what I've learned from just life. Don't promise to do things you won't do. Now, we are all forgetful people, right? There's that meme that we all see that says, you know, if my wife asks me to fix the sink, she doesn't have to remind me every 6 months. I'll get to it eventually, right? It's a husband saying that. You don't need to remind me every 6 months. I'll get to it, right? For an acts of service person, do not promise to do things you won't do. Even if you're just forgetful. They won't take it as you're being forgetful. They'll say, I don't matter enough for you to keep your promise. And so I've seen that, you know, in the church. I've seen that in families. I've seen it times in my own marriage. I've had to learn that. Yeah, just being forgetful is kind of hurtful sometimes. So don't promise to do things you won't do. Actions matter to acts of service people. If you say you're going to do it, do it. And then last, quality time. This is me, so I think I can speak to this a little personal, but if you're a quality time person, you might resonate. Quality time people enjoy doing things together, even if it's a chore. I drive my wife crazy because I'm like, hey, let's clean the garage together today. And she's like, I was kind of hoping you would go out there and like spend 8 hours by yourself cleaning the garage because I'm trying to get all these acts of service done, right? For my family. But let's do it. It'd be fun. Let's clean the garage together, right? They're usually up for anything that involves connecting, right? Meals, trips, car rides, road trip, whatever. Anything that involves, hey, you're giving me your time. You're giving me your time. That's how I feel loved, when you give me your time. And so acts of service people love doing things together. They love uninterrupted time together. Or you make time to hang out with an acts of service person. We're pretty easy to please. We don't need to be entertained. We just want some time. That's it. And find ways to do simple things together. It really, if you have someone in your life that you know that likes to just have a partner while they're working on something, this is, you are married to a quality time person if that's your spouse. The things that quality time people don't like, well, they don't like when you're with the people you love and they're constantly distracted. Like, I'm giving you my time and you can't give me your time. I always feel like, oh, I'm not as important. I know that's not the way to interpret it. You just may be really busy, or you may have something big on your plate. But the way we internalize that as an acts of service or as a quality time person is we internalize it. We say, I must not be that important to you. And then time carries the most weight. Do not neglect time together. Just find time to be together. Watch a TV show together. Just find ways. Again, quality time people are not hard. They're not difficult to entertain, but find time together. We knew a couple in a previous church that their marriage suffered greatly because I believe one of the two in the marriage was a quality time person, and the other one was probably an acts of service person, and they were committed to taking their child all throughout the state for competitions. And those of you that have had kids that are into stuff, you know what that's like. But it would be gone every weekend, every single weekend gone, because their kid was in this town doing this and this. And that was about 2 years. Their marriage almost fell apart. I mean, most marriages would have fallen apart. They had a catastrophic kind of falling out, and they were able to reconcile only because they were able to just recognize what was happening and try to fix it. They both were committed to fix it. But a quality time person, if that You may think, oh, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. My kid plays baseball, and I got to be on the road every single weekend to play to take him to baseball. But a quality time person eventually is going to say, what about me? And you might think, well, that's a little selfish. But you know what? All love languages are a little selfish, right? Because we want to be loved. So this is what we've found. And it's what I found in my 15 years as a priest. And I think counseling, marriage counseling, and that people do, or premarital counseling that we do for couples, bears this out. Many couples encounter issues not because of a lack of love. Everybody that gets married loves each other and wants to make it work. It's a lack of feeling loved. Right? Love isn't like this thing we can write down on a spreadsheet and figure out like there's a formula to it. A lot of it is how I feel. Right? And if we feel loved, we can put up with all the quirks that our partner has. But if we don't feel loved, no matter what they're doing, it's hard to overcome that. So I would just encourage, if you're thinking about your spouse or your partner, thinking about people in your life, what makes them feel loved? Okay, do we have any questions? This is Q&A time, if there are any. If there's anyone brave who would ask a question. Or the other possibility is we're all hungry and we want to eat. Because James, who's an active service person, has been preparing dinner with his team all night. Well, if you have, okay, we've got one. Sure. Yeah, when life gets in the way. Well, I think that's the challenge, right? Everybody here probably has had life get in the way at some point, I'm sure. I'm looking around and seeing some people who have had some good long marriages and life gets in the way. I think you have to find time. I mean, there are seasons of life where maybe health, young kids makes it more difficult, but I think you have to try to find time. I mean, would anybody have better advice than that? At the end of the day, we're not meant to be entirely passive in the direction of our life. Sometimes we act like we do. We act like we're a victim because we're so busy and our schedules are so full and we have so much to do. But like, who makes your schedule? Like, you can decide you're not going to do something. Now, there are consequences to deciding you're not going to do something, but you can decide that you're not going to do something. I mean, I think we act a little too much. I'm going to put myself in this category because I'm going to say something that is a little bit challenging to all of us. I think we act a little too much like victims when it comes to our schedule. Like, who makes them? We make them. And we act like we have these like taskmasters that say we've got to be at 50 events every week and do all these things. No, we make our schedules. And we could easily say, not doing that. We don't for the reasons in our life, but I think there are, for the seasons that we can't do that, legitimately, when we're going through a health struggle, when we might have an illness in the family, when work maybe takes you out of town for a little bit, I think people understand. I would hope people understand. But for the other things where we're just busy, I mean, we make our schedules. Go ahead, Marilyn. Right. Sure. Sure. Well, how are our kids going to learn it if we don't know it? Right? You can't give what you don't have. Right? So if we don't make time, how are they going to know to make time? Somebody said this, and it's an old saying, the greatest gift you can give your sons or daughters is to love your spouse in front of them. let them see what a healthy relationship looks like. Let them witness it. It's one of the greatest gifts we could give them.